Hello everyone, my name is Rooney from Batch 3 of AI class, and today I will be presenting about an overview of the lessons we have learned so far in our class. It includes Python, machine learning, Scratch, code.org, and AI websites, which are all in order, and is linked to each lesson, making it even more interesting to talk about. Firstly, an introduction to Python, in which was the first thing we learned about in our class, making it extremely helpful in our future lessons, since it is vastly connected to half of the content I just talked about in the first slide. And to start off, Python is greatly known to be an easy-to-use software with its basic structural elements and understandable use of language in its coding, which is great for anyone interested from age ranging from 10 to 18 plus, all the way to adult life. Not only that, its bonus is to be able to do coding offline, which is a lifesaver for anyone who is willing to reduce their use of data or internet, or is experiencing lights out while doing so. Here's an example of how easy it is to use and understand Python coding. And if you can see properly here, print meaning print out your input, which is what print means in the first place, is to print out something that you want. And secondly, an introduction to machine learning, which is just as vastly known in both schools and businesses, as machine learning was the start of AI and coding. Since AI needs data for it to run properly, the machine needs to learn about the data input and what to output, which is connected to Python, like I said earlier. As the machine learns, just like its name, machine learning for kids, it is what made to learn data without explicitly coding its commands or even what to do. Machine learning can also predict, make decisions, and do commands, which will later be explained in the next introduction slide. And in the examples, like I showed, we can put in our inputs or our data in each category. And then we go to our next one, which is testing it out by either putting it with pictures or text. And now a continuation to the last slide, being an introduction to Scratch, which most children and teachers worldwide know as the best app for coding. To start off, kids starting from 8, as young as that, can learn its basics because it's just as easy as I will show in the next slide about its basics and coding blocks. Because of its fun and bright colored structural elements, it is a great way to engage in further learning without getting bored. And as instead of writing sentences to code like in Python, it shows up as blocks of coding, which are already done in coding. And if you have already learned Scratch, you can know which each of them means, as the language is very easy and accessible to use. And our most memorable lessons start off with code.org, being connected to 3 coding apps, which are Java, Python, and Scratch, based on its structural elements when both coding and designing the UI. And not only that, it can import and export tables from Excel, which is something very interesting in my opinion, as it brings a sense of intelligence to being very educated if you know how to use it properly. And for its UI, it has a refreshing and neat look with its own themes and styles. If you look into its website, mainly for designing your app shown on the screen while you code here. And lastly, an introduction to AI and AI websites itself, which I used in my presentation, as well as to show an example of what it can do. And if you notice, it is the beige header around here and the flowers on the right side of the slide, which seems pretty realistic, but it's not, and it was made with Magic Media, like I showed in the credits. And how I got this is by prompting my ideas into an AI machine to either get pictures and or text by giving the answer to your questions and such. And like I said in my example, I use Magic Media in the Canva programming to put my prompts in minimalistic pictures to fit my theme for the slide. And not only that, it can also help me fill the spaces without looking it weird. And as AI is starting to grow more and more these days, it is vastly used across the globe 24/7, making it both useful and harmful to each side of humanity, which is why I suggest to use it properly and not only for educational purposes, but not stealing answers or making fake art to claim as your own. And as a conclusion and overview, AI helps us in more than one ways or another in our daily lives. Since learning how to use AI has an advantage in this generation and era of technology, which you see almost every day, but always be careful of what you believe or what you think is right or wrong, since AI is always enhancing to be better and is starting to get more and more difficult to figure out which is real and which is fake. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope everyone gets a good message and remembers their lessons, as well as to get a good idea of how technology and AI helps us. That is all from me. Thank you.